Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. This video is the continuity of the chapter How do organisms reproduce, and it includes these topics of sexual reproduction. So here it starts.
Before beginning the study of sexual reproduction, let us do a basic revision of reproduction. So what is reproduction? Reproduction is the production of new organisms from the pre-existing organisms, and it should be of the same species. And this reproduction is of two types. One is the asexual reproduction and another one is the sexual reproduction. In the asexual reproduction, we have learned that there is the involvement of only one parent, and since it is the involvement of only one parent, no sex cells are involved here. But in case of sexual reproduction, two parents are involved, and among the two parents, one is the male and another one is the female, and there is the involvement of sex cells, that means the gametes. Involvement of sex cells means the fusion of a male gamete with a female gamete, and when a male gamete fuses with a female gamete, then they form a zygote. A zygote is formed, and this zygote grows and slowly it develops into a new organism. We will begin with the sexual reproduction in flowering plants. The flowering plants are also known as angiosperms, and in angiospermic plant, the main sex organ is its flower. Most of these plants are bisexual. Bisexual means the male and female reproductive organs they lie in the same plant. Here in this diagram, we will be seeing the main parts of a flower. This is the petal part of a flower, and this is the stamen. The stamen bears the anther. This stamen is the male part of a flower, and this is the carpel, which is the female part of a flower. These are the sepals. Sepals are the green part which is present below the petal. When you see a flower, you have seen that there are some green leaf-like part in a flower, and this part are known as the sepals, and there is the receptacle it holds the flower. So these are the main parts of a flower. From here we will be studying mainly the stamen and the carpel. Stamen, which is the male part of a flower, and the carpel, which is the female part of a flower. We will study the male reproductive part of a flower in details now. The male reproductive part of a flower is called the stamen, and stamen it consists of two parts. One is the filament and another one is the anther. The stalk-like part of a stamen is called the filament, and the swollen part is called the anther. The anther it contains the pollen grain, or we can say that the anther it stores the pollen grain. These are the pollen grains. The pollen grains are stored inside a pollen lobe, and there are four pollen lobes inside a anther, and this pollen lobe contains the pollen grains, and these pollen grains are powdery like substance. If we see in a hibiscus flower, we will find the yellow powdery like substance. This powdery like substance are the pollen grains. So this is the male reproductive part of a flower. We will now study the female reproductive part of a flower. The female reproductive part of a flower is known as the carpel. The carpel contains of the stigma. This stigma is for receiving the pollen grains from the stamen, and this stigma is connected to the ovary, which is a swollen part of the carpel, and this ovarian stigma are connected by this style. This is the middle part of this carpel is called the style, and this ovary it contains the ovule, which is the female reproductive part of a flower. And ovule, there are many ovule inside an ovary, but in this diagram we are particularly showing one ovule, and inside this ovule there is the egg. The flower which contains either of this one sex organ, that means either stamen or the carpel, that type of flower are known as the unisexual flower. And the flowers which contain both the sex organ, the stamens as well as the carpel, they are known as the bisexual flower, and most of the flowers are bisexual. The stamen, that is the male part of a flower, it makes the male gamete which are present inside the pollen grains, and the carpel, which is the female part of a flower, it makes the female gamete which is the egg. And when the pollen grains it falls on the stigma of the carpel, this pollen grains, the nucleus of this pollen grains are passed into the egg, and then they fertilize it. The fertilized egg cells then grow within this ovule, and then it becomes the seed. And we all know that when the seed germinates, then a new plant is produced. But how these female gametes combine with these male gametes, we will discuss about it now. The pollen grains has to be transferred from the anther of the stamen to the stigma of the carpel, and this process is known as pollination. Pollination is done by insects such as the bees, the butterflies, and many more. And sometimes this pollination is also done with the help of birds or winds or water. And this pollination is of two types, either the self-pollination or the cross-pollination. When the pollen grains are transferred from the anther of the same flower to the stigma of that flower, then that type of pollination is known as the self-pollination. But when the pollen grains of the anther are transferred to the stigma of another flower, then that type of pollination is known as cross-pollination. After the pollination, the next step is the fertilization. Fertilization happens when the pollen grain falls on the stigma of the carpel. The pollen grain bursts open as soon as it falls on the stigma, and a pollen tube is developed which moves downward towards the egg of the carpel. And then through this pollen tube, the male gamete of the pollen grain, it also moves towards this egg to fertilize it. And when it moves towards this egg, and then it fuses with this female gamete, that is the egg, and then when it fuses, it forms the zygote. The fertilized egg divides several times to form an embryo within the ovule. The ovule, it develops a tough coat around it, and then it develops and forms the seed. The ovary slowly and gradually develops and gets converted into the fruits containing the seeds within it. The seed is the reproductive unit of a plant which germinates, and then a new plant is developed from that seed. And the part of this seed from which the root grows is known as the radicle, and the part of this seed from which the shoot grows is known as plumule. We have studied the sexual reproduction in plants. Now we will study about the sexual reproduction in animals. Before studying the sexual reproduction in animals, we should learn about some terms such as the gametes. So gametes, what are gametes? Gametes are also known as the sex cells. These gametes are cells which are involved in sexual reproduction. So the gamete, it is mainly of two types, that is either of the male gamete or the female gametes. The male gametes are known as the sperms, and the female gametes are known as the eggs or ova. This is the diagram of a human sperm, and this is the diagram of a human ovum. The sperms are motile, but the ovum are non-motile. The sperms are much smaller than the size of the ovum, and when the sperm and the ovum fuses together, then they form a single cell which is known as the zygote. And the nucleus of the sperm as well as the nucleus of the ovum, they contains the chromosomes. That means they contains the genes of the parent organism. So the zygote is a cell which is formed by the fusion of male and female gamete, and this zygote is a single cell. This process of fusion of sperm and the ovum during sexual reproduction is called fertilization. So the zygote, in most simple words, we can call the zygote as the fertilized egg or the fertilized ovum. The zygote grows and then it develops to form a new baby. This unborn baby in the uterus in the early stage of development is called the embryo. So this is the embryo. Here why I am saying it as the early stage of development, it means that the body part of the embryo is not much developed. So here the another term that we should know is the fetus. Fetus is the unborn baby in the uterus in its later stage of development. Here later stage of development means all its body parts are well developed. Before studying the reproduction part, I want to give you a short knowledge about the chromosomes. So we all know that all the organisms are made up of cell. These cells, inside these cells there are the nucleus, and this nucleus contains the chromosomes. Chromosomes are nothing but thread-like substances which contains the DNA, and this DNA contains the genes. The genes are the hereditary units which carry the characteristics of the parent organism to the next generation, or we can say to the offsprings. The fertilization in animals is of two types, the internal fertilization and external fertilization. Internal fertilization is being followed by mammals, birds and reptiles, whereas the external fertilization is followed by the amphibians and fishes. In internal fertilization, the sperm, it fuses with the female gamete inside the body of the female. So it is known as internal fertilization. That means fertilization takes place inside the female body. But in case of external fertilization, the fusion of male and female gametes takes place outside the female body. Here we can take the example of humans. In humans, the sperm fertilizes the ovum inside the female body during the process of copulation or during mating. But in external fertilization, the fishes or the frogs, they lay the eggs into the water in which they live, and then the sperms are also released into the same water, and these sperms and eggs are get fuses, or we can say that the sperm fuses the eggs in the water by the process of collision. So that are the way in which the internal fertilization and external fertilization takes place. In internal fertilization, the method of the development of zygote is different in case of different organisms. As we can take the examples of humans. In humans, the female, that means the mother, they carry the baby in her womb during its development period. But in case of birds, they lay the eggs, and the eggs are then developed into a full-grown organism. Here, a question might arise in your mind that why the amount of DNA doesn't get doubled during sexual reproduction, because in sexual reproduction there are two gametes. One is the female gamete, another one is the male gamete, and their combination should bring the chromosomes number to be doubled. But why it doesn't get doubled? Why the chromosomes number remains same in all the organisms of the same species? This happens because the gametes, they are a special type of cells, and these gametes, they contain only the half the amount of DNA, that means half the number of chromosomes, as compared to the normal body cells of an organism. So when a male gamete combines with a female gamete during the sexual reproduction, then the zygote which is formed will contain the normal number of chromosomes in it. As for example, we can take that the number of human chromosomes is 46, but the male, the gamete, that means the sperm, will contain only 23 number of chromosomes, and the ovum or the egg will also contain only 23 number of chromosomes. So their fusion will bring 46 number of chromosomes in the zygote. Here, this 46 number of chromosomes which are present in human being, these chromosomes, they always stand in pair. That means we can say that 23 pair of chromosomes. And among these 23 pair of chromosomes, 22 pairs are autosomes and one pair is the sex chromosome. That means 44 chromosomes are autosomes and 2 chromosomes are the sex chromosome. Autosome means the chromosomes which gives the other characteristics of a body, and sex chromosome means the chromosomes which gives the sexual character of a body. So this is all about the chromosome, and you can say that because of this reason the DNA number doesn't get doubled during sexual reproduction. We will now discuss about the puberty. So puberty is a stage at which the boy or girl, they become sexually mature. That means they becomes capable to reproduce. And this puberty, it happens at the time of adolescence. Adolescence means the time when the boy or the girl, they attain sexual maturity. On attaining puberty, the male gonads are developed. That means the testes are developed in male. And these testes, they produce the sperms, which are the sex cells. And in female, the ovaries, they produces the eggs. Along with the production of sperms and eggs, the testes also produces sex hormone which is known as the testosterone. And the ovaries also produces sex hormone which is the estrogen and the progesterone. Along with this, many other secondary characters also develop in boys and girls. In boys, secondary characters are such that in body parts like chest and face, the hair grows, like the mustache, the beard, it develops, and the body becomes muscular. Then the chest and shoulder, it broadens up. Also the penis and the testes, it becomes larger. The testes start to produce sperms. There is also slight change in his voice, that means the boy's voice become hoarse. And in case of females, the mammary glands develop and enlarge, the hips broaden, the uterus and vagina enlarge, the ovary, they start releasing the eggs, the menstruation starts, and the female voice also changes. The humans, they use the sexual mode of reproduction, and the organs associated with this process of reproduction is different in case of males and females. The reproductive system of males is known as the male reproductive system, and the reproductive system of female is known as the female reproductive system. Now we will be discussing about the male reproductive system. So the male reproductive system, it mainly consists of the testes, scrotum, epididymis, vas deferens, which is also known as the sperm duct, the seminal vesicle, prostate gland, and the penis. This is the diagram of a male reproductive system. We will start with a description of testes. So testes, it is a oval shaped organ which lies outside the abdominal cavity of a man, and these testes are the main reproductive organs in men. We can say that testes are the primary reproductive organs in men, and there are two testes in a male. The function of this testes is to make the sperm, which is the male sex cell, and also for the production of the male sex hormone, that is the testosterone. So the testes is the primary reproductive organ in men. The testis, it lies in a small muscular pouch which is known as the scrotum. The sperm formation, it requires a lower temperature than the normal body temperature, and since this testis, it lies in the scrotum outside the abdominal cavity, so its temperature is lower than 3 degrees Celsius from the body temperature, and because of this optimal temperature, the sperm formation is possible in this testis. The sperm which are produced by the testes, these sperms are stored in the epididymis for some time, and then these sperms are being carried by this vas deferens, which is a long coil tube which joins with the urethra which is coming out from the bladder, and then it goes towards the penis. While moving from this vas deferens, the sperms, they get mixed up with the secretion of vas deferens, seminal vesicle, and prostate gland. This secretion make the sperm liquid, and the liquid along with the sperm is known as the semen. And the secretion of seminal vesicle and prostate gland provides nutrition to the sperm for its further transport. This semen is passed out from the body through the penis. The female reproductive system. The female reproductive system, it consists of these organs: the ovaries, the oviduct, which is also known as the fallopian tubes, the uterus, and the vagina. This is a diagram of a female reproductive organ. These are the ovaries. This is the oviduct, which is also known as the fallopian tube. This is the uterus, this is the cervix, and this is the vagina. These ovaries are the primary reproductive organs of female. These ovaries, it contains thousands of follicles which are actually the unripe eggs, and these eggs are released from this ovary into this oviduct, and then they move through this oviduct towards the uterus, and these eggs gets fertilized while they are in this fallopian tube, which is also known as the oviduct. And this egg then comes to the uterus, which is the womb of a female, and if the egg is fertilized, then the zygote it develops in the uterus. The uterus is connected to a narrow tube, which is the cervix, and then to another tube, which is the vagina. This vagina is known as the birth canal because the baby is born through this passage after it completes its development period in the uterus. So this is all about the female reproductive system. Now we will discuss how the fertilization takes place in human beings. In human being, the fertilization is internal fertilization, and during the copulation period, thousands or millions of sperms are being introduced into the vagina, and these sperms are very motile and active. They move up into the uterus through the cervix and to the oviduct, and the ovum which is present in the oviduct, which is released by the ovary, this ovum gets fertilized by one of the sperm, and when the sperm nucleus fuses with the nucleus of the ovum, then a zygote is formed here, and this zygote divides rapidly, and then it moves through this oviduct towards the uterus, and that process is known as fertilization. Once the zygote starts dividing and it comes to the uterus, it gets embedded into the lining of the uterus, which is known as the implantation. During that period, the uterus lining is very thick and soft, which helps for the development of the embryo. After the implantation of the embryo, a disc-like special tissue it develops between the uterus wall and the embryo. Somewhat like this, a disc-like special tissue, which is the placenta, and this placenta it helps the embryo in its development. The fetus, it is connected to the placenta in the mother's body through the umbilical cord, and this placenta helps the embryo for its development by providing nutrition to it, and it also helps in the respiration and excretion of the fetus. So we can say that all the necessary requirements for the fetus for its development are being done by the help of the placenta from the mother's body. And the average duration of human pregnancy, that means the time period from the fertilization up to the birth of the baby, is called the gestation period. During this gestation period, the fetus grows and becomes a baby, and the birth begins when the muscles of the wall of this uterus starts contracting, and because of this contraction, the uterus muscles gradually pushes the baby out of the mother's womb through this vagina. So that is how the birth happens. We will now study about the sexual cycle in females, that means the menstruation period. When a girl child is born, then at that time the girl child already contains thousands of immature ova in her ovary. She already contains and when the girl child attains the age of puberty, at that time from her ovary an immature ova gets mature, and the egg is being released into the oviduct, and this release of ovum from an ovary is called the ovulation. The ovulation takes place on the 14th day of the beginning of the menstrual cycle of 28 days, or we can also say that the ovaries start releasing ovum or egg once every 28 days after the age of puberty. That means once every 28 days. In every 28 days, one egg will be released into the oviduct from the ovary. Before every ovulation, the uterus lining it becomes very thick and soft with blood capillaries, or we can also say that blood vessels. This happens because if the ovum is being fertilized by a sperm, then this ovum has to be implanted in this uterus and the fetus has to be developed. So the uterus becomes thick and soft with lots of blood capillaries for the further development of the fetus and for its supply of food and oxygen. But if this ovum is not fertilized, then the inner lining of the uterus, which contains lot of blood vessels or blood capillaries, breaks down, and then it is being released out from the body in the form of blood and tissues. And this breakdown and removal of inner thick and soft lining of the uterus along with blood vessels in the form of vaginal bleeding is the menstruation, or it is also known as the menstrual flow. There are two terms related to menstruation. One is the menopause and the another one is the menarche. When the first menstruation occurs, then that period is known as the menarche. And menopause is the permanent stoppage of menstruation. This happens when a woman attains a age of about 45 to 50 years. This is the menopause, is the permanent stoppage of menstruation. So this is all about the sexual cycle in female, that is the menstruation. There are various advantages of sexual reproduction over asexual reproduction. In asexual reproduction, only single parent is involved, and single parent is involved in asexual reproduction. So, no variation occurs. And the new organism are similar to the parent organism, whereas in sexual reproduction, two parents are involved. And there is a lot of variation in the offsprings of sexual reproduction. Because of these variations, the organisms can adapt themselves to the changing environment condition for their survival. So this is the main advantage of sexual reproduction over asexual reproduction, that is that in sexual reproduction genetic variation occurs, whereas in asexual reproduction no such genetic variation occurs. Birth control. Birth control is very essential for family planning, and the methods of birth control can be divided into these types. One is the barrier method, another one is the chemical method, and then the surgical method. In the barrier method, the couples can use condoms and diaphragms. These condoms and diaphragms prevent the sperms from meeting the ovum, and unwanted pregnancy can be stopped. The next one is the chemical method. The chemical method is the use of pills for preventing unwanted pregnancy. These pills contains hormones which stop the ovaries from releasing the ovum into the oviduct. Then there is the surgical method. The surgical method is available for males and females. In males, a portion of its sperm duct, which is the vas deferens, is removed through surgery so that the sperm is not released into the vagina of the woman during the copulation. And in case of females, the portion of the oviduct is removed by surgery, and this is done for prevention of the release of ovum into the oviduct. The surgical method which is carried out by male is known as vasectomy, and the surgical method which is carried out by female is known as the tubectomy. The sexually transmitted diseases. The diseases which are spread by the sexual contact with an infected person are the sexually transmitted diseases. So a healthy person can get the STD, which is a sexually transmitted disease, by coming in sexual contact with an infected person. And some common sexually transmitted diseases are gonorrhea, syphilis, AIDS, So these are the sexually transmitted diseases, and its symptoms are somewhat like burning sensation at urination or passing of urethral discharge, sores in genitals. So these are some symptoms, and AIDS, it mainly damages the immune system of the human body. This is the end of the chapter How do organisms reproduce. I hope you have understood this chapter, and if you have got any kind of doubt, you can ask me in the comment section. I will be very happy to help you. Thank you very much for watching my video. I hope this video will help you a lot. And please like, comment and subscribe my channel and press the bell icon so that my upcoming videos will be notified to you. And thank you.